with Hayes, it's like he reminds me of like watching one of those dogs in that ASPCA commercial with Sarah McLachlan playing in the background. It's just a sad soul, man. I mean, just can't really catch like that. He'll give you like 2 good minutes. Vanderbilt's the same way. Every time Vanderbilt gets in the game, I hear Sarah McLachlan in the background, donate $22, give this young fella a good home.
Welcome to Rogue Bogues. As we're live right now in the playoffs, we've got the Magic and Boston in the background. NBA playoffs been fantastic so far. A lot to get through with these numerous different series that are going. Some going well, some not so much. But Pro, what's going on?
Coach Bogues, what do you got? You drawing up? You getting some good ATOs out of these playoff games, or what?
I found a few actually. I found a few. There's been a few interesting ones, a few little tweaks, but. Yeah, I mean, it's every series is different. It's been good to watch. I mean, some are super ISO based. I'm really liking that Clippers Denver series. I mean, I picked that to go 7, I think. Sorry, 6. But yeah, I think it's going to go 7. I think it's going to be a tough series. So, but yeah, there's a few that are good, a few that are bad. Obviously, OKC and Memphis just capitulated on itself. But yeah. Stealing plays whenever I can, Pro, like most good coaches, and then I'll rename them and say, I've thought of this play.
Oh, without question, you take all the credit. That's how you do it, right?
Yeah, you don't have to attribute it to anyone. You're like, or you just get the play and make one little tweak, and this is my play. We set that pin down on a different angle.
You gotta work on your 3 things. You gotta work on taking credit for everything. You gotta work on your TikTok dance when you're with your players, when the social media guy comes in or girl comes in. And then you gotta have all those buzzwords down packed, like downhill, even though you guys go flat in a basketball court, you got like downhill, second jump, all those great buzzwords that you hear. Yeah, rear contest, all those things. Or you gotta practice this for review. If you guys review, I don't even know if you review.
By the way, we didn't touch on it last week. What's the coach's name from Cleveland? I forgot.
Kenny
Atkinson.
The best all-time review ask. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah,
that was the all-time best.
Yeah.
Like right in his face.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
That was great. I was watching
Kenny
that game
Atkinson,
live. That was awesome.
Kenny Atkinson looks like Humphrey Bogart in some kind of gangster movie. He should have that like gangster hat on
Slick
with the
back,
machine gun with the big circle. Yeah. He's something out of the 50s and 60s. He's great. I love that.
And he got it
guy,
right
man.
too. You got the review right, which made it even funnier because it was like so passive aggressive. And the ref was super pissed, and then he had to also come back and then say, "Yeah, you're right." review 1. So
that's awesome.
I still think they do need to. I like the NBL rule. Just give every team 1 review for the game. If you win it, you keep your review, keep your timeout. You keep it free rolling it. You free roll it. If you get 8 reviews right, you get your 8 timeouts back. I like that rule.
Hey, why not? I think I'm good with that.
Because they're going to get, the odds say they're going to get 1 wrong within 3 or 4, but the 2 things interesting because there's a whole strategy and when you use it, when you don't. I just think you shouldn't be, if the referee makes a mistake blatantly and you review it and win, you should be rewarded. If you review it and lose, you are disincentivized because you lose a timeout.
I mean, is there any worse job on the fucking planet than the guy that has to be in charge of the reviews,
the film dude
in the back of the bench? What would you rather do, Bo? It's not a fact or fake news. What would you rather do? Would you rather be a minefield checker in a minefield, or would you rather be the poor prick that has to do the fucking review challenge deal?
Depends who your coach is.
Time that coach
Depends
is
who
looking,
your coach is.
Everyone's looking at you, and if you fuck it up, you're gonna hear it. You're gonna hear it. Oh God.
Yeah, and then when you don't review it, the player's cussing you out. So then it's like you're reviewing and the guy behind the bench goes, "Coach, don't review it." And the player's like, "Fuck you." So you're right. It's a thankless job.
I'd rather be stool samples checker than fucking the guy that does the fucking review.
And it's usually someone that's 5th or 6th on the bench as it is too, right, Pro? So it's usually it's usually head of your video or film that's doing it. So they're stuck in the bottom of the way they we should do. Someone should do which film coach gets it right the most on yeses and nos. That'd be a cool stat.
Yeah,
they're probably not tracking that one.
That's a good stat.
They're probably not tracking that one. So someone out there that the 5 people that listen to our podcast, as Pro says, but that'd be, can they do a sports tracker on which assistant coach gets the yes or no right? Not so much the percentage, but I'm saying the ones that he even says, no, don't review it. Does he get those right as well? It'd be interesting to find out.
See, Bogues, that's what you need to bring to the Kings right now. That you should be like on the film watching review number 7. All right, Johnny Rodgers is the best at it. And then try to hire Johnny Rodgers, because I'm telling you, that is a good stat. I don't give you props that much. I will give you a prop for that. That is next level stuff right there.
Yeah, I have to look at it. Some poor bastard's going to get some stats. Geek's going to get statted. All right. Not much news this week in the NBA. Only real news was Landry Fields fired as Hawks GM. Interesting one. I don't know if you got more for us there, Pro, because it didn't seem like he did a horrible job. I mean, they stole Dyson Daniels. That was a great pickup for them. Their roster is what it is. I mean, I don't know. Maybe just not getting along with ownership there.
I mean, Bogues, I don't understand it. Like, they hired him a few years back. Him and Kyle Korver are supposed to sort of revamp that front office. I mean, look, I'm not a huge Trae Young fan. That was before him anyway. You got the Daniels deal. You got the young kid, that small
he
forward
moved Collins, right?
Yes, yeah. He did move Collins. Mm-hmm. I believe he did move Collins. Then you've got the starting center, Okonkwo. I butchered his name probably, but like they're right around the salary cap. They got about $155 million in salary. Right now they still got to re-sign. They got to re-sign a couple of guys, but I thought they were okay. I mean, I thought the damage was done before that with some of the moves they made, but. I wasn't a huge fan of Collins, but they got off of him. They made some decent moves. But, yeah, that was a surprise to me. I mean, that was definitely a surprise. I thought that Fields is okay. Like, he's one of those guys probably in the middle, middle to like 15 to 20 if I was going to rank GMs. That's not too bad, I mean, for a guy that's never really done the job before. But, yeah, that was a little bit surprising. They didn't sell the team, so it's not like it's a – it was just a leadership change, but that's interesting. That was an interesting move. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, strange one. But anyway, NBA awards. Pritchard gets the 6th man of the year. Mobley gets defensive player of the year. A controversial one. People have kind of said that he shouldn't have got it, but they're number 1 team, or not defensively. I think they were 8th in defensive rating, which is the other strange thing. But they won games. I mean, they almost got to the Golden State record. At one point, it was attainable to get to 73 wins or 74 wins, but they flooded towards the end of the season. But yeah, I mean, we discussed it we were on Ethan Strauss's pod earlier in the week together, and we discussed it there. It's kind of. We both haven't watched a lot of Cleveland games. I watched a little bit. He's gangly, he's long, he's can get deflections by accident kind of guy with his body type. But I just thought that, I think Dyson Daniels, their record hurt them. I think getting out in the straight sets in the play-in hurt his chances. I think if they got to the playoffs, grinded out a series, maybe, not win a series, but just being in a series, it probably would have been better for him. And I even have Draymond Green above Mobley, to be honest with you. And they gave Draymond Green the Hustle Award as a consolation. But when you see what Draymond has done, even this playoffs defensively, he's been a menace, absolute menace. He does a lot of good things at that end, and that's where he makes his money. But you can't hate on it too much. I understand that they were the best team in basketball record wise in the East. They dominated the East, and he's pretty solid defensively. But I just don't see him as I don't see him as shit. He's guarding my best player. Oh shit, it's going to be a long night for my best player. Where I see that with Dyson, I see that with Draymond, I see that with those guys, right?
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming, Bogues. I mean, Mobley. When I think of Mobley, I think mostly offense. I think of energy guy, really skilled. Could face up, short roll, lob threat. A lot of offensive talent. But I don't really think of him as that defensive dynamo that you're going to give a defensive player of the year award to. I mean, I thought it was going to be Daniels just because I'm not a huge steal guy, but I mean, not only the steals, but the technique and what he's done on the defensive side. You could just watch him play, and he does change the game with his defense. But yeah, I mean, maybe even an outside chance of Gobert, especially what Gorbert's doing in the playoffs, even though you don't rate him on what he does in the playoffs. But that was a little bit shocking to me as well.
And Pritchard, a pretty obvious one. I went with Beasley just to be different, but he thoroughly deserves a sixth man of the year. So there's no real pushback on that one. I don't think. Pro. Let's get into the playoffs. Indiana and Milwaukee currently 2-1 for Indy. You had them at 4-2. I had them at 4-3 for Indiana. It's been as expected this series, I think, so far. Dame Lillard has come back to this series, which has been interesting. Wasn't his best game upon his return, but they're going to need more from him in this series. Especially, look, he's not out there for his defense. He's out there to get buckets. So if he's not scoring at a decent clip, I think he becomes kind of somewhat becomes a bit of an issue at the defensive end. But it's just good they've got him back on the court. I mean, he was 14 points in his first game back. Was better in game. I think in game 3 struggled as well. I just need to check the stats on that one, Pro. But it's good they got him back on the floor, albeit rusty. That you'd hope that he can provide some punch for them later on in the series. But Gary Trent Jr. in game 3 went off his absolute head, hit 9 threes, tied a Bucks record, 9 for 12 from 3, and had a fantastic game. Dame had 7 and 5 in that game, so a really poor performance, 2 for 12. But these are the kind of guys in playoff series that we speak about every season. Jalen McDaniels is the other one with Minnesota, which we'll talk about later on. But it's always a third or fourth option that you just wouldn't expect that comes in and can turn a game and just get you that one game in a playoff series, and he managed to do that. But Indiana pretty much controlled the first 2 games. I felt like they did a great job in those, but it's coming down to a big game 4, which will be tipping off here at time of recording in the next 5 minutes, or just tipped off actually. So you're still sticking with Indiana at 4-2?
Yeah, I mean, anything could happen in these playoff series as far as giving up a game here and there, Bogues. I mean, Gary Trent's one of those players that it's sort of, it's funny I'm talking about a role player versus, Giannis or Halliburton or Siakam, but like a Gary Trent Jr. is he's just a weird player. Like, he's a guy coming into the, into the NBA with Toronto, and then traded to, Portland traded to Toronto, had a lot of upside, guy who could average 18, 19 points a game, and then he just disappears. He's a guy that disappears in long stretches, but then every 6 or 7 games, he's one of those guys that can give you like 27. He can shoot it. He's got size. He's a decent athlete. But they need something. You can't really rely on Lillard just because he's getting his footing, coming back from that blood clot. But the thing about Indiana, besides Siakam, they got like 6 or 7 guys that can give you double figures. They shoot the ball, they play together, they move the ball. Obviously, their offense is going to be, well showcased with, with their style and what they like to do, and they're very well prepared with that. But look, Giannis is having a Hall of Fame type series, but he can't really do it alone. And I think in this league, it's really tough to win. It's tough to win games, period, but it's really tough to win playoff games if you don't have that second dominating scorer. You're seeing in most of these series, and that's what Milwaukee's really missing. You got Giannis, who's bringing it every possession, every night, and they just don't have that second guy that could really get them 25 on a consistent basis. But I just think Indiana's got too much for him, Bogues. Kuzma's that one guy you thought maybe could get out of his shell a little bit, give you 16. But obviously we've talked about, the Easter egg hunt that he had with the zeros across the board.
Well, 7 or 9 for the series at 37% from the field, 14%
just
from
not doing
3, and 50% from the line. You're right. That's the guy that they look to, third, fourth option. But Giannis, 35, 14, and 5 per night in this series. Doing a great job.
Yeah, no, he is. Bogues, I think, like, everybody who complains and bitches and just sort of passive aggressive on social media, player wise, about not getting a chance. When you get your chance, this is the biggest moment that you could really step up and play. So when you're saying, "Oh, I need to be the second option on the team," or I'm not saying that Kuzma says that, but when it's time, when they're giving you 25 minutes a night and you can't produce, then stop complaining about your role. You got to step up. This is what stepping up's all about. When the lights come on, your team needs you, you're a little bit, guys are banged up, and you get this chance, and you get this, finally that, center stage, and you can't step up to the occasion in a series, then you got to reevaluate where you're at, as far as a player. And, unfortunately, fortunately, that's what they wanted out of Kuzma. Middleton's probably looking at the fucking TV right now in Washington, banging his head against the wall, winning 7 games a year, saying, fuck, you needed somebody who could score 17. That was me my whole career. But, yeah, it's a tough one, man.
Yeah, and Dame at 10 points a night. You hope he's found his legs these last couple after the blood clot issue and can make his way back on the floor. But Indiana just so much more balanced. 27 a night for Siakam, Halliburton 15 and 11 a night, and you got Nesmith with 13.5, Nembhard with 13, Turner with 13, Mathurin with 12, Toppin with 8. So they're very, very well balanced, whereas Milwaukee are a bit top heavy. I think this will be lucky to go to 6 at this point, but I think Milwaukee could, I look at Dame averaging 10 a night, struggling in the first 2 games, maybe has a night today and gets them to 2-2, but Indiana should be too deep to have this series go any further than 6 games, in my opinion. So we'll see how that goes. All right, Clippers Nuggets been probably the best series, I think, as of now in the first round. One of the best first round matchups you'll see. Been very fun. Not controversial, but a close call buzzer beater with Aaron Gordon. Just got it through the hoop and his hands off the ball with literally 0.1 left on the clock. They steal a win where Clippers looked like they were in some trouble in game 4, down by a lot, and they come roaring back, tie the game up, and then just a crazy 1-foot step back that Jokic usually makes from the corner, from the wing, overshoots it, dunked in by Gordon, goes in. But this series has been awesome. Jokic, 28.5, 13.5 rebounds, and 10.8 assists for the series, pro. So, we all know he's ahead of the snake for them, just does so many things. And then Kawhi, 26.5, 7.3 rebounds, and 4 assists. He's been absolutely sensational. Murray's found his way a little bit throughout this series at times as well, which has been good to see. He struggled a little bit at different times during the regular season, but I feel like he's made some big shots at times for him. He seems to have found it a little bit more, and he's 20 a night with 6 assists at 42% from the field and 38 from 3. So a little bit more aggressive. Westbrook out last game. They win that one without him, but he's been decent. His energy's been pretty infectious at times. But the Clippers, very well balanced. Kawhi leading them. James Harden's been okay. Clips aren't as good as they usually are, but averaging 21 and 10 basically. Zubac's really, really instrumental. 19 and 12. You're not going to stop Jokic, but I think that big body for 30, 35 minutes can kind of, make Jokic have to work and finish. And then they obviously bring Ben Simmons in as that backup 5. But this series, big fan. I try to, these games come on in Australia for all the Australian listeners at roughly 11 or 12 o'clock during the day. I try to check when this game's going on, which the next game is tomorrow, I think, or the next day. I try to make sure that I leave that part of my day free to watch, because this has been an unbelievable series, bro.
It's been really fun to watch. Jokic is he's been an assassin out there. For the Clippers, it's been fun watching Harden and Leonard work together. Harden's just a great passer, man. Everybody talks about the step backs and the isolation games, but watching, some of the easy passes that he makes, and even the tough passes that he makes, and, averaging 9 assists a game, for the series. But, the look aheads in full court, the drives, and, hitting the dunker when they rotate up. Some of the hits that he makes is just really good. And just watching Denver sort of operate. Murray's been good, like you said. And just, I'll give it to Michael Porter Jr. He made some tough shots, last game, for sure. Just, someone's got to do it. And if I'm the Clippers, I'm trying to, obviously you send in a second defender at Jokic, but I'm trying to pick up, I'm going to continue just to try to pick up Murray full court, try to turn him, even bring a second defender, force him to make decisions. Not a great decision maker, really good scorer. Obviously, could make shots and do some things. But you got to sort of, try to, turn them over and just pick them up full, in my opinion. With Jokic, you can't really do much with him. You send a second defender, he's going to find guys, going to find cutters, going to find guys spotting up. Brown, they've been they've been tough. Christian Brown's been good to watch. I mean, he's tough. Coming in the playoffs, he's been really interesting to watch. Gordon's been stepping up. So it's just going to be one of those games, those series that goes 7. I think the only chance the West has, in my opinion, of beating Oklahoma City is the Clippers coming out of the series, if they can come out of the series. I think they're the only guys that have enough defense at the rim, enough offensive firepower, enough bench that could do it. I don't trust Denver's bench as much, but especially with firepower, for the scoring. But it's gonna be a great series, man. I think this will go 6 or 7.
Yeah, I agree. I've been fun watching, and yeah, I mean Denver's bench. That's getting that win without Westbrook was impressive, because I think Westbrook's been pretty good for them off the bench. But if they get one injury to a starter like throughout this, like it's you don't see any life from them. Whereas some of these other teams in the playoffs, we've seen some injuries, we've seen guys missing, and other guys pick up the slack with a decent bench. Orlando's one of them. That at least still compete. Denver, they're one injury away from just imploding, in my opinion. That bench is a big reason why. All right, a controversial series of the Knicks and the Pistons. Game 4 was today. It is now 3-1. Controversial call late in that one, where there was a potential foul on a 3-point shooter from Josh Hart was uncalled. Detroit go down and lose by 2. But this has had numerous calls late in games. Bickerstaff, head coach of Detroit, has come out numerous times and questioned officiating after multiple games in this series, asking how Cunningham can't get to the free throw line the same amount as Brunson, with similar plays, not a lot of fouls being called for their side of the ball. But I give credit to Detroit. They've been in this series. I mean, this could easily be 2-2, could easily be 3-1 the other way, Pro. I feel like New York stole a couple of games late. They've had some lucky bounces, but this has been a grind of a series. And, Detroit, in an ideal world, it should be 2-2, going back to New York and potentially going to 6 or 7 games. But I think this is going to be a tough one for them to etch out in New York. I think it could, should be 4-1 going back to New York's home floor. They got to close it out. But although this seems lopsided, if you looked at it on face value at 3-1, this has been a close, entertaining series. And this series reminds me a little bit of the, early 2000s NBA to an extent. The East Coast, those grinded out teams. There's fighting, there's wrestling, there's rough box house guys throwing each other. I like that in the playoffs, and this series has had that. Brunson leading New York, averaging 33 and 9 assists a night at a decent clip. Getting to the free throw line a lot though, getting there 9 times. Towns been super efficient, 22 and 9, 53% from the field. Hit numerous big shots, especially in Game 3. A couple of fadeaways, a couple of shots where they needed to stop. OG's been tough. Bridges, they got 5 guys in double digits with Josh Hart leading him out at 10. Josh Hart just continues to come up with big plays for them, Pro. You just, you just got to be aware of where he's at. He gets so many key offensive rebounds at crucial possessions for them late in games. Gives them second, third chance opportunities. He's been great. Cunningham with 25 and 9 for the Pistons. Tobias Harris being really solid, a kind of a calming presence for them at times where they can post him up, just get him on that elbow and he can find you a nice shot. But Detroit's offense at times has just sputtered and just hasn't given them an opportunity to take games they probably should have. Schroeder's had a decent series for them, coming off the bench, averaging 13 at 55%. Beasley's 3-ball kind of has went astray a little bit. He's at 30% on 10 attempts. He's shooting 30%, so he just can't find it this series, Probe. And a guy that's shot it well all season just hasn't found it in the playoffs. But this will probably finish 4-1 in New York.
Yeah, we were talking about it when we talked about the playoffs a week ago. My thing with New York was they'd win the series, and Detroit just wasn't going to have enough, and that they were going to limp. They were going to limp over the finish line and just win games. I think it was going to be a very closely contested series, and it's going to be a grinded out. Neither team has great offense. They got one. They each have great players. One great player offensively. I'll tell you what, Towns has been really good. He's been making a lot of tough shots and stepping up offensively. Brunson, it's funny, just from someone who I thought was going to be a solid starter in the NBA. Now I talk about him. If you're talking about all-time Knicks, especially in the playoffs, besides maybe Frazier and Patrick Ewing, you're going to have to mention Brunson in that top 4 all time, in my opinion, of guys who just like number one options for that team that could take you and win you playoff games. I mean, that guy, he's been tough. He's been fun to watch. Now, you're right. Bickerstaff has been complaining about calls. Now, Brunson, they've been complaining online all day about him, for about a week, about how he just like snaps that neck back all the time to try to bait referees into fouls. I'll tell you what, Brunson is very, very crafty at doing that, in selling fouls and flopping a lot. But that's just what you have to do. You're just better at it than Cunningham. Look, Cunningham's been really good. Like you said, Beasley's been a little bit off from the 3. I think Tobias Harris and Hardaway has stepped up more than I thought they would, and they've been keeping it close. I really like watching Jalen Duren play. That guy just screens hard, good passer, rebounds. I just don't think, they have the offensive firepower, especially when Towns is making shots. Brunson's doing his thing. And then you've got the other guys sort of, OG, Bridges, Hart, just sort of chipping in and giving double figures. Like if I'm Detroit, again, I'm sure they've thought about everything. I would just double Brunson, pick him up full court, take it out of his hands, and force Towns and OG and Bridges, the other guys, to beat you the best you can. Obviously, that's been thought about, but you gotta, you just gotta fight it out, and you gotta obviously come back and win a game and see what you got from there and take it game by game. I think this series is over. I think the air's out of the balloon for Detroit. This is a tough one to come back from. Maybe they could steal a game, but I don't really expect them to. I don't expect them to advance. Past 2 more games.
Yeah, I agree with that. And from Trent, just I saw this. He's just in this screenshot of there's no better feeling when the crew chief David Guthrie admits a foul should have been called in the 2-minute report after the game. That's come out. We missed the call. During live play, it was judged Josh Hart made a legal defensive play. After post-game review, we observed that Hart makes body contact and is more marginal. That is more marginal to Hardaway Jr. and a foul should have been called. Now, he has to make 3 of the free throws as well, but you hate that's the kicker these days in the NBA 2-minute report, right? Like you get screwed and then they double down on that. Yeah, we screwed you, but our bad. We'll fix it next time.
I don't pay attention a lot to it, Bogues, because it is what it is, even when I was in the league. But how do you miss it when you could review it, watch the film? You've got people from Secaucus, New Jersey, sending you the film and helping you out with it. How do you miss it with all those cameras? And then all of a sudden you say, "Oh yeah, by the way, we messed it up." I'm not trying to be an asshole for once.
Can they review it though without a coach review? They can go to the review.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought they did. I apologize. I forgot they didn't. Okay, I thought
they didn't go to the review. I
thought that's what it was.
I don't think they did. No, not in game.
Okay,
no, they didn't go to the review. So. I don't even know if they can legally, right? Unless it's challenged.
No.
Yeah. I thought unless there's like a whistle on the play that a coach can then challenge. There's nothing you can do. It's
live play. Yeah. So that's the tough part of it. But yeah, there's arguments for the last 2-minute report, arguments against. I don't see the point in it. Like, what's the point? Like the point in saying that we screwed up. There's nothing that can change. It pisses fans off more. It just should be left for the fans to debate. They messed the call up. Let's move on with things. I think the 2-minute report is like, more often than not, they're saying we got it right. But in these circumstances, that's a series changing possession right there. Which sucks for. So it kind of confirms Bickerstaff's bitching, right? Like now he's going to be on one now, even worse.
Oh yeah, like. He's gonna get like the first 14 calls in his favor
in New York.
It doesn't even matter. Yeah. Like so. Cunningham could like just take the ball full court, not dribble, no call. Just lays it in, no travel. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to give him the first 4 or 5 calls.
Yeah, you have to,
because that's a big one. Yeah. You're going down 3-1. I saw a stat today. It was like when you're down 3-1, team that has 3 wins 95% of the time. The series. Oh, rough one.
Except for us, bro.
Rough one
with the Warriors.
Yeah.
Minnesota, Los Angeles, game 4. Managed to watch that one this morning. Great game. Back and forth. Both teams had opportunities to win. Lakers got up double digits. Minnesota came roaring back. Lakers got re-upped it again to 10. Minnesota comes roaring back, and this has been a great series, even though it's 3-1 for Minnesota. You had them winning it. I had Lakers in 7, but the Lakers offense just sputters. It just at times it's very ISO based. It took Hachimura having to make a bunch of big threes for them laid out of ball swings, just because they're getting the ball out of Luka's hands as much as they can. Luka's averaging 37 and 5. LeBron made some huge plays, especially defensively in this one. He's averaging 27, 9 and 5 for the series. Reeves was 17. Hachimura with 13. Finney-Smith I thought was very good today. Knocked some big threes down for him. He's finally got more minutes. They've gone completely away from Jackson Hayes. But they got to find something else, and there's not much there on that bench. That's the problem for them. Edwards, some huge plays late for them. But two guys I want to talk about that I think have, Randall's been pretty solid actually for him as well, 22, 5 and 5. But Jalen McDaniels and Naz Reid have been just huge for them this series, and even DiVincenzo's hit some big shots for them late in games. But Naz Reid, I think he's 100% in the fourth quarter this series. I heard that on telecast. He was 8 for 8 or 9 for 9 at one point for the series. They were talking about hit 2 big threes this game. And Jaden McDaniels, has been fantastic. His defense on Luka has been as good as it can be. I mean, Luka's still averaging 30, but he's annoying him. He's up and in, and he's made some big shots, big offensive rebounds tonight. Made a big 3 when they were making their comeback. He's averaging 20 and 7, pro. So I think he's, like we talked about Gary Trent Jr., he's a guy that, is 4th, 5th on their scouting report. They're probably looking at saying, now we've got to pay a bit more respect to this guy. He's made some big shots. He's averaging 20 a night. He's averaging almost more than their second option in Julius Randle. We've got to pay a bit more respect to him. But been a great series. I think it probably will go 6. Lakers should get 1 at home. Going back to LA, and then we'll see what happens in game 6. But Minnesota in the driver's seat at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's been, it's definitely been worth the price of admission, to watch these guys play. I mean, Luka had the bad stomach flu last game, really messed him up, probably cost him the game for sure. He just wasn't really himself, even though he battled through the thing. I mean, Edwards was 43 today. I mean, he was just on fire. And like you said, McDaniels has been tough. Naz Reid's been tough. Naz Reid's the definition of a guy that comes in and knows his job. He's someone who just got better.
Always ready to play. Yeah. He comes in, you couldn't tell that he came off the bench. Like, it's crazy.
He got better since day one. I remember when going down there, they had me come in to consult for their player development, and he was a guy that was a G League guy, first year rookie, just playing the G League, coming back to play. They really, Gerson Rojas brought him in, and they had a lot of high hopes for him. I thought he was a solid player, set good screens. I didn't see him as a shooter like that, and he's someone who's just gotten better every year. Tough guy, trench guy that just comes in off the bench, knows what he's doing, could spread the floor, shooting the ball. Tough guy, set screens, could rebound. He's really good finding his rhythm. And the Lakers just does it. They just don't have enough yet. I mean, they got to figure out their bench next year, but you just can't come into a playoff series and just have Dorian Finney-Smith, the only guy, makes a couple of shots, but that's really your only offense. Vanderbilt gives you nothing. Vincent gives you nothing. If Vincent ain't making shots, he's not going to give anything. Vanderbilt just, he gives you some, rebound and some energy defensively, but he's not really an offensive player like that. Can't really shoot. And it just puts too much pressure on. Now, I think that I saw this one, Bogues. Now, do you have something about the second half of this game in your useless?
No, I don't. No.
Okay, so I saw this one. First time in modern basketball that JJ Redick went with the same starting 5 for the whole second half. Not one substitution.
I heard that on the telecast. He didn't make a sub the whole half, right? Wow.
No, he went with Hachimura, James, was it Hayes, Reeves, and Doncic?
No, not
Smith.
Hayes. Not Hayes.
Doncic,
No.
Reeves.
Hachimura was the 5.
Yeah. Yes.
Finney-Smith.
Yeah, LeBron,
Reeves,
Finney-Smith,
James, Doncic. You can't do that. Like LeBron at 40. You gotta find spurts. You gotta try different things, and it almost worked for him. But it just, one other thing that I'll mention. Luka's assist numbers. He's 5 assists for the series. He killed Minnesota last season, but he has no rolling big.
No.
You look at what he had in Dallas. he had 2 rolling bigs that he could throw lobs to, and he's so good at Luka's so good at not getting by you quickly, but using that pick and roll, holding that guard on the side of him or behind him, holding him for that extra second, then attacking that big, and then that big's in a tough spot. You got to step up. It's a lob. You don't step up. It's a floater. He has no one to do that with, and you thought it would be Hayes, but he benched Hayes. He played Hayes 3 minutes this game and benched him for the rest of the game. I think you need a role rim presence sometimes. Now, Minnesota were kind of half blitzing Luka and trying to get the ball out of his hands, but I think there's some adjustments there. I think you need a rim presence. Hachimura's not that. He's become more of a three space guy. LeBron's not that guy that he once was. He's not a rolling lob threat. I don't know where they find it, but they got to find something out of Hayes. Even put Alex Len in there for a couple of minutes. At least he can catch a lob on a roll. Like, they need someone rolling to the hoop to get some easy baskets at some point.
Yeah, I mean, with Hayes, it's like he reminds me of like watching one of those dogs in that ASPCA commercial with Sarah McLachlan playing in the background. It's just a sad soul, man. I mean, just can't really catch like that. He'll give you like 2 good minutes. Vanderbilt's the same way. Every time Vanderbilt gets in the game, I hear Sarah McLachlan in the background, donate $22, give this young fella a good home. I mean, you just can't, they don't have that. It's a shame because you've got 2 of probably the top 10 passers in the history of the NBA on your roster with LeBron and Luka. And you've got, I mean, they make your job a lot, even though LeBron gets a lot of shit. But like his passing and Luka's passing, even though they like to hold the ball a lot, I mean, they just make a lot of guys. If you could just make shots, roll to the rim, come out of the dunker, sprint and transition, I mean, they'll make your job easier at times. And without really consistency, especially on the bench for guys doing that, it is tough, and it is wasting it's wasting a big year for doing that. But yeah, I mean, they just got to retool in the offseason and figured some things out. They just don't. JJ just looks down that bench and just doesn't really have a lot to go to. Like, you got Dorian, you got Dorian right there, but like you don't really have a lot after that. Gabe Vincent's feast or famine with the shot. Vanderbilt, he's not going to give you 2 good games in a row, and then you just don't really have much after that. So it's a tough one, man.
Yeah, we're just going to see what adjustments, if any, JJ makes. Maybe it's play the starters the whole game instead of the whole half. But it's
why not?
They're I think they'll get Game 5 in LA. LA get really, they get a good whistle at home. Everyone knows that. It'll go to 6, and then it'll be up to Minnesota to hold home court to win that series. OKC Memphis, much ado about nothing in this series. Pro wasn't entertaining whatsoever. The only chance Memphis had was being up 35 or almost 40 points in Game 3, and then still managing to lose after Ja Morant went out of the lineup with that hip injury. He misses Game 3 and Game 4, which hurt the Grizzlies a lot. But they fire their coach controversially right before, and this is probably the expected result in my opinion. Is getting swept and getting out of there, because I think that we all agree that was the wrong decision. But not a great series on the eye. Memphis had its chances to at least make something out of it. They couldn't get it done. SGA 28, 6 assists a night. So well balanced. Jalen Williams with 24 or just under 24 a night. And then you got Holmgren with 18, 10, 3 blocks a night, and then a pretty balanced scoring spread beyond that. And then you had Ja Morant leading them, but only played 2.5 games. He was 18 a night. Scottie Pippen Jr. led them in scoring otherwise, Pro, which is a big, credit to him, big jump for where he's come from, grinded out into a very, very good NBA starter. He was 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. Jackson Jr. struggled this series, especially offensively. He shot at 38% from the field, 27 from 3 for his 16 points a night. So a down series for him. Bain with 15, and Aldama, they just didn't have enough. Even with Ja Morant, we both had, I think you still had him 4-1. I think we both had him at 4-1, or maybe you had him swept. I'd have to check. Let's see what Pro had.
I don't think so. I think it was like 4-1.
Yeah, you were 4-1. I was 4-2. So we both didn't have them winning. I thought they'd be a bit more competitive if Ja was healthy. Maybe get Game 3 and 4 and then go out the next 2 games. But sweep to be somewhat expected once Ja went out, and we'll see what the Grizzlies do in the off season. But the Thunder look prime and sharp, and they handle their business.
Yeah, I mean, you'd expect a little bit of resistance from Memphis, but with the injury stuff, and that's what's falling. I mean, multiple things fall around Ja Morant, and unfortunately, durability is one of them. But it was just it was a clinic. It was just a clinic kind of closeout of series from Oklahoma City. It's great to see. Memphis just didn't have enough, man. I mean, you thought they maybe could take a game, maybe two if they were lucky. But like you said, Scottie Pippen Jr. went from somebody who I didn't think could really make play in the NBA, or at least anything past the last three spots on the bench, to somebody who could be a really, really good backup, could be a probably spot starter in some situations. I mean, look, they've got most of their good players signed. I think they've got all their good players signed, and they've got the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which is $14 million. So they could probably find another piece, but they got to figure out what they're going to do with their coach and going forward, and they just got to know what direction they're going to go. Are they going to keep the guy that they're going to keep the guy from France, or you're just going to keep go with another guy. So it'll be interesting what that front office does. But hey, Oklahoma City, a great way to everybody's on Oklahoma City about lack of experience and things like that. But look, they get experience even winning an easy series 4-0. It's just closing guys out, just continue to get better every game. Those guys just play really well together. They're a well-oiled machine, so it'll be interesting seeing them, especially in that next series, depending on who that opponent is. And yeah, they just keep going. They just keep trucking.
Yeah, easy one for OKC and get through unscathed. No issues with the injuries as well, which is what you want to see. Celtics Magic just wrapped up. We are now at 3-1. Magic have been resilient. I mean, they're somewhat shorthanded with some injuries and whatnot, but they've been resilient. They grinded out Boston in Game 4. It was a closer game than it finished. It is 107-98. So 3-1. Going back to Boston, I just don't see Orlando getting it. I think it's going to be 4-1 there, but a balanced attack. Tatum missed a game or two in this series with his wrist, but they're too deep. Drew Holiday missed a game today. He didn't play. He didn't play the last two games, actually. Tatum with 26 a night with 11 rebounds. Jaylen Brown with 23 and 7. Derek White's been really good this series. He averaged 21 for them with 5 and 5. Pritchard with 12, and Porzingis with 10. The Magic just super clunky offensively. Just can't get a nice flow offensively unless Banchero or Wagner are creating it, really. Banchero with 32, Wagner with 26, and they're still struggling to get wins. A big drop-off after that. Wendell Carter Jr. with 10. They've got 3 guys in double digits. Pros can't get it done. They grind defensively. They battle. They play hard. Just not enough talent there to keep up with the likes of Boston Pro.
No, I mean, they did make it close, but Boston's just a well-oiled machine. It's just they're just too tough, man. I mean, they've rested guys all year. They did a great job of just sort of getting other guys at the end of the bench to play and in their rotation. They gave guys plenty of rest. I mean, they dealt with the Porzingis situation perfectly as far as like trying to rest him throughout the year and keeping him healthy. I mean, without Brown or without Tatum, you got to just keep an eye on Tatum with that bone bruise. And, he's dealing with the wrist, and Brown's dealing with the knee. They're both playing pretty well, throughout the series. Derek White, like you said, has been playing great. I mean, it's just the next man up for Boston. In Orlando, look, they put up a great fight. Banchero and Wagner, doing their thing. It's just they need the shooting. They need the shooting to space the floor out. They need more playmakers on the floor. Banchero, my opinion, and Wagner, not really good enough handling the ball to just to break you down consistently to get in there, and their shooting needs to get a little bit better. But I mean, both those guys could put up, mid-20s, low 30s for you. And they just need more consistency shooting the ball. Black, KCP, Cole Anthony, even those guys got to make shots. Corey Joseph's never really been known for a shooter, in my opinion. Did a decent job this series, but they played hard, they fought, but Boston was just too tough. I expect, like you said, them probably going to be 4-1. It'll probably be a 15, 16-point game, at least in Boston. I don't see. I mean, they put up a tough fight, taking the game, keeping it close for the most part. But I don't see much more left in the tank for Orlando.
I think it's important for Boston to wrap this up early if they can, like you said, that the injuries, get some time for Brown's knee and Tatum's wrist and Holiday as well. Just get them that extra week until they get into the second round. That's where it's always important. If you can buy, the last thing you want to do is just, and Boston has done this in the last couple of seasons. They'll let one random game slip at home for some stupid reason. You just got to make sure they don't have this game, get on another flight, having to go to 6 or 7 with all those banged up bodies. So I think they'll look to handle business at home. All right, Cleveland, Miami, much of a wash, very similar to the, Miami battled. They battled in spurts. They just don't have enough. They're offensively poor. Defensively, they haven't been great. They're giving up 122 points pro in this series a night, and they're only averaging just under 100 themselves. But yeah, they just don't have enough talent, in my opinion. They scraped through the play-in, weren't very good in the regular season, made that trade. Donovan Mitchell, 24 a night. Garland with 24 a night. You got Mobley with 16, Ty Jerome with 15, then 14 for Jared Allen, Strauss with 13, and Hunter with 11. Very well balanced, just all over the place. They haven't had to play their guys big minutes. No one's even close to the 40-minute mark in this series for Cleveland, which is impressive. Donovan Mitchell with the most minutes at 33, and then everyone else is basically 30 and below. Evan Mobley with 33, everyone else is in the 20s, which is good for your longevity. Miami, Tyler Hero seems like the only guy that can really create his own shot for stretches in this series. He's averaging 22. Bam Adebayo with 19 and 10 has been solid for him. Davion Mitchell continues to have a decent postseason with 17 points and 7 assists, and then you got Wiggins with 11, but just not enough. Miami's tried different things. They've gone to Jokic at times, who didn't play a lot in the regular season towards the end. They've gone Duncan Robinson. They've got Hayward Highsmith, cracked the rotation 25 minutes a night. It wasn't playing that much in the regular season. They're trying different things that just don't have enough pro.
Yeah, I mean, they limped into this whole playoff deal. Just a tough season. They never really could turn the corner on anything this year. With the trade and then coming in, limping into it, I think they won 35 games or something like that. They didn't really get it done all year. They just didn't have enough. And then now they got to figure out what to do next. Cleveland had a great series. 7, when you get 7 guys averaging double digits, that's pretty impressive. And they're doing their thing. It's got to be interesting for them that they sort of ran away with the East this year. And people say, well, Boston rested guys, and they did. But when you run away with the East and everyone's sort of expecting Boston to win this, win the East, obviously they're playing with that, that for a little frustrating to sort of deal with that. But look, they're a good team, and it's going to be. I'd really like to see Boston and them in the final, Eastern Conference Final, and to slug it out. But I really liked for Cleveland. I really liked that Hunter trade with Atlanta. I've always liked Hunter as a starter or as a rotation scorer. Those guys could guard people. They could score. They'll come at you. They're efficient shooting the ball. So I like the Allen and Mobley lineup. Anytime those guys are in the game together, it's tough because they got length, they got athletic ability, they could run, they could pass. So it'll be interesting for Miami going forward. What do you do? That's the thing. What can you do to acquire another player that could really bring it home? I would say the only untradeable guy is Adebayo. If I had a guess, it's they're Alonzo Mourning. And then, what do? You trade Hero? I just don't know what they're going to do. Do you run it back with Wiggins and say, okay, now we got a whole year of Wiggins, see what we can do with that? But Bogues, I just don't understand it. I don't know where they're going to go. I don't know how much money they have, in cap room, or, if they had the taxpayer mid-level or not. But it's going to be a tough year or two for Miami to figure it out. Do you just go young with Adebayo, and you have Ware and Jovic, and then you trade everybody else, and then you just, clear cap room, and you just, build around Adebayo again? Or do you go for it again? I don't see a path for them getting another high-level player to go with Adebayo that could really win them games.
Yeah, they're 10th in salary spend, and they're pretty much the exact same salary spend the following season. 176 this season, 176 next season. Big drop off after that to 124. Next season, I think they're pretty hamstrung with what they can do. Right, they don't really have. Hero is probably the biggest asset they can move and get something back for, but he's the only guy that seems like can get him an ISO bucket. He's really, is he efficient at that? Probably not consistently, but he's the only guy on that squad that you can throw the ball to and be like, create something for yourself or someone else. Wiggins isn't that guy. Adebayo's kind of getting there, but not there yet. Like, he's not a heavy ISO guy or heavy guy that you can throw it to. So I think they're in some trouble. If they pull a rabbit out of the hat, I'll be surprised. But I think next season, at best, they're a 7-8. You know, I think where they finished is pretty respectable to where I thought they were skill-wise, talent-wise, roster build-wise after Jimmy left. You know, with Jimmy maybe a little bit better, but yeah, I don't see them doing anything next season. And I think Cleveland, you know, they'll be tested in the next round with most likely Indiana. That'll be a good series. But yeah, Miami. If I'm a Heat fan, I'm kind of not too optimistic about the future.
And you know what the interesting thing was Jaime Jaquez, you know, he had such a good year last year, and then he's just sort of non-existent this year. It's just, that was a little bit strange for me. And I think they might be barking up the wrong tree with Jokic. You've been hearing Jokic for the last couple of years, and he just really can't crack the lineup and consistently give them a lot. So I'm just wondering, like, you know, do you want to stay in this never, you know, just sort of this never land of 7, 8, 9? Or do you just say the heck with it? Like, let's just start dumping salary, keep out of bio, and you just go with these young guys and go forward. It's probably your best bet, but then you're going to get your teeth knocked in for a couple of years. Look, they're as creative using salary cap and in trades and assets management than any other team in the league. So, you know, but I don't see what you can do just sort of to get a rabbit out of the hat with this one, man. I think
maybe the following season,
I think
when the cap comes down, you got 50 more, 60 more million to spend. But the Jimmy Butler thing hasn't really brought them much that's fruitful, and hasn't really freed up cap space immediately either. Which usually you see with these trades, you might see a guy come off the books in the season, but they don't have that. So last one with the playoffs, another good series, Golden State and Houston. I think they're the two best in my opinion. I think Golden State and Houston, and then the Denver Clippers series are my two ones that I want to tune into. This has been a grind series for two teams that scored it pretty well in the regular season. They're both averaging in the 90s for the series, which has been very, very interesting. But Houston, an absolute capitulation in Game 3. Like to let that game slip with no Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler obviously getting hurt in Game 2. 1-1 going back to Golden State. You'd think they would have grinded that one out somehow. They just, you know, and we spoke about it last week. We spoke about it with Strauss. Like, Houston's offense is just a dumpster fire at times. Like, you know, Golden State struggle at times because they just don't have that depth talent-wise offensively, especially with Jimmy out of the lineup, right? It becomes much more concentrated on Steph. But Houston have so much talent, but they play hard, they fight you, they hold, they grab. But offensively, I just don't see any flow or direction with what they're doing. It's often a lot of ISO, often a lot of first guy to get half a look shoots it. They shouldn't have let that game slip. And that if they lose this series now, with Jimmy potentially coming back for Game 4, which is tomorrow, they'll look at Game 3 and be like, we let that slip. We should have won that game. Sengun's been really good, you know, 19 and 12 for the series. Jalen Green with 18, Dylan Brooks 13, Van Vliet struggled. He's averaging 11 points at 26% pro. He's 9% from 3. That's a guy that needs to just get back to his season averages for them to be competitive. Smith Jr. has been okay with 9. Amen Thompson's been really good at defensive end for them. He's 10, 5, and 4. But Golden State just managed to get it done, and Steph 29 tonight with 7 assists. Jimmy Butler's averaging 14 but hasn't played the last game. Pat Spencer Pro is their third leading scorer, which is just absolutely amazing. You look at that, he's averaging 11 points for the series he's only played one game, so it's a bit of an anomaly. But Kuminga averaging 9, played a little bit last game. Moses Moody with 8, but it's you know, with Jimmy out, it's basically Steph and Steph is their only double-digit scorer. You can't really count Pat Spencer because he's played one game. They managed to figure it out. Draymond was 6 tonight. Gary Payton the second with 7 tonight. Buddy Hield with 8. It's well balanced, but not a lot of scoring punch there. And Houston I think they let a big one slip, bro.
Yeah, Pat Spencer looks like I could have sworn I saw him today at the IKEA warehouse, Bogues, unloading fucking boxes. I had no idea who the fuck Pat Spencer was for a second there. But I'll tell you what, they've been very, very creative with giving guys minutes. Quentin Post, Guy Santos, him, and guys just filling in. It's just the old adage we talk about, just stay ready and stay prepared and get your moment. And that's what they've done. And I thought they have a good chance of splitting without Jimmy for the next two just being home. And I think that's going to come to truth right now. But look, that's what Houston is. The problem is for Houston, two things. The amount of 3-point shot makers they lack and actual playmakers. They're better off, running through Şengün and just letting them catch the ball on the block or catch the ball at the high post and pass to people because he's their best playmaker. Van Vliet's more of like if the play's right in front of him making a play, shot maker, although he's only shooting, like you said, 20 from the three, he's not really making shots. But look, Jalen Green, when he settles down, Jalen Green is really hard to stop. When Jalen Green tries to do anything more than 3 dribble, it just gets himself in trouble. It's just, I'm just hearing the circus music anytime he over dribbles, just because I know some poor bastard in the 15th row is going to get hit with a fucking pass or something, and that's the problem. They just, they're a talented team. They've got guys that compete without question, but it's just, where do their shots come from? The playmaking and the lack thereof. And, with Golden State, look, give them a lot of credit for competing, settling in, making shots, being tough, and then, being shorthanded with your second best player, not having a ton of firepower and still coming out of that thing. Buddy Hield's got to stop dribbling, man. He's got to stop dribbling, or buy a dribble video somewhere, man. There's plenty of them, because he's been in the league like 10 years. He can't dribble more than 3 times without something fucked up happening. You got 17 coaches on the bench. One guy, can you get a dribble video and just fucking put him through some stuff? Crazy George. There's a guy that's in Dallas that used to spin a ball on a spoon and eat ice cream while he's dribbling the ball. There's plenty of guys that could teach ball handling. Just do something, but
Jimmy's even called him out jokingly in a press conference. Jimmy even said, we don't want.
And you watched him on the bench last game, like during a timeout, he was busting his balls about over dribbling. But anyways, it's just, I just think Golden State has too much experience. They've got too many guys that are locked in. And I just think that it's just going to be tough for Houston to overcome it, in my opinion. But I think Şengün should be getting more touches. I think they need to spread the floor out and just allow him to operate, elbow jump shots, post ups, short rolls, things like that, and then have everybody just sort of space out. And, I'll tell you what, Jabari Smith, he's been really consistent shooting the ball. He's been really good on that right corner, short roll. They suck in, they pass, or he cuts. Him and Thompson, Thompson's on a shooter, but he's a cutter. But it's just when they keep the game simple, they're okay. When they try to go in ISO mode, it's just...
Well, that's a thing.
Yeah,
and that's been their problem during the season. The AAU comment, it's just kind of like they got so much talent that it's like, all right, we'll just go here now, and then this guy will shoot, and that guy... There's no real method to what they run offensively, in my opinion. They might, people might argue that, but I just think it's just kind of we're more athletic, we've got size, we're physical, we're just going to try to beat you that way rather than running anything integral. Whereas Golden State, they try to move the ball. There's a method to the madness. Steph's running a lot of stuff to get other guys open, running off screens, and kind of, they try to lull you into one thing and then get an easy, like they got a slip for Gary Payton II and Draymond and a few guys late in games, and that's just because they're playing that flow motion of setting you up, and then they get an easy look, right? Houston doesn't get any easy looks. They don't get anything that's like back card or back pick or screen and roll swing. It's always started from an isolation play, and I just don't think over the course of a series you can do that in the playoffs. So they'll have to adjust there. But I think, I just think they're going to look back at Game 3 as the one. If Jimmy doesn't play in Game 4, they have to get that one to salvage any life out of this series, and then we've got a series. By the way, I think Dame Lillard might have just did his Achilles. I'm not sure yet, Pro, but it did not look good. It looked like he or a foot or ankle. He just got carried off the floor with about 5.5 minutes left in the first quarter. So
let it be a sprain, man.
It just didn't look. It looked like he was holding the back of his ankle where the Achilles is, and he kind of went down much similar to what you would attribute to that. So hopefully it's not that. We'll see.
Poor bastard.
We'll see what happens there, but that would definitely hurt them if they manage to get this series to 6 or 7. All right, useful or useless, pro. So the Grizzlies guard Ja Morant, since he said he's fine in the West a couple of seasons ago, he's had 0 playoff series wins, a head coach fired, and 2 gun suspensions. Useful or useless?
Oh, it's useful for sure. Useful for sure. If you're saying I'm the guy in the West and
I'm fine in the West, I'm fine in the West. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's useful, man. I mean, all these fines and little things, and you can't stay healthy, and you're getting coaches fired. It's not good, man. It's not good. I mean, I got him right now at 10 in the league as for point guards, and I just don't, look like that first couple of years, he was like Iverson on steroids, and. It's funny just how this stuff could switch on you, Bogues. You go from somebody who's just explosive, getting to the basket, everything's fun, and then the whole thing gets to you, obviously, and the whole dad sits on front row and he gets some drama there. Shannon Sharp, getting into it with him, the gun thing, and then the coaching deal, and that's just it's a lot of frustration in Memphis right now, man. I mean, they got these players that they show glimpses of winning, and you got this, and then I don't even think he's their number one asset by far. I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is. So you got to figure out what you're gonna do with Morant, what you're gonna get back if you're gonna move him, or going forward, what's the plan gonna be with him? Because he can't stay healthy. There's always something with him. It just seems like.
They were so close, bro. They were so close. They were like so close to just being that solid 4 or 5 seed, starting to build some momentum. Ja's a unique talent, and I think, talent for talent, you disagree with what you said compared to Jackson Jr., but it's all the other shit. It's all the other shit. Like there's constantly now he's throwing grenades in the crowd. You're just like, you know what I mean? Like it's. I get it. Some of it's banterish, it's funny, but like at some point you got to be like, you know what? Like I fucked up too. I'm the face of this franchise. We go as far as this team goes, as far as I lead them or take them. It's like cut all the shit out, man. Like kind of make your circle smaller. Stay away from all the bullshit. Don't throw grenades in the crowd and do gun gestures after you've had gun issues. Like just try to refocus it there, so people it's just more about basketball for you for a couple of seasons. I think that's where it's becoming frustrating, because I think I'm not a fan. Like Memphis isn't a team I'm a fan. I'm not a fan of any team, but if I was a Memphis fan, I'd be super frustrated because you got a guy that's should be a Hall of Famer and has all the right tools, and you just hope it doesn't end with he's bitter at Memphis because he hasn't got his way as an individual, or he feels like it's their fault, where it's like, it's your fault. You miss the year with the guns, the gun thing. You miss a bunch of games in a year where they probably should have been at least a 6 or 7 seed, at least in the playoffs. You come into this and it's the same kind of thing, and it's just like, man, it just never ends. So that's why I just think that their roster on paper is good. They got a good roster. They play well. They got physical guys that'll fight you. But at the end of the day, it's the issue with Ja Morant. Like, you can't keep him on the floor. The injury is one thing, whatever, but it's all the other shit to me. And I just think that's where they're going to have their biggest issue. If they can't fix that, what's the point? So I think it's useful. If you're going to have that arrogance, you better be the leader. You better be professional. You better be out there on the floor. And at the moment, he's not.
The problem with players, Bogues, and I'm trying not to be the old guy that just, I'm not going to say, well, young players today, it's not that. It's like every player wants to be this person who's revered by social media, like doing crazy stuff, signs after every shot they make and things like that. And that's fine. Look, if you're winning and you want to do all that, that's great. And everything's going well for you. The problem that players like Ja have, that have all this talent and just underperforming for obvious reasons, that there's some cloudy stuff going on in his head as far as his preparation, how serious he takes it. And then regardless of if you think you're being picked on or it's a wrong story about you, regardless, that's what people think of you. So like, all this, what's keeping you from becoming what you want to become. And then not just like going Rocky mode and just getting everybody away from you. Here's my basketball guy. Here's the guy that's going to be working me out my strength. Here's my life coach that's going to be really helping me with dealing with this issue that I have, regardless if he thinks it's one or not. And then just saying, these are my 3 people. Everybody else get the fuck out of my way. And I got to deal with this and I got to work on this, because what's going to happen is the second he starts going down, they're going to get him out of town. I've seen it with Antoine Walker in Boston in his career. I saw it with Allen Iverson. I saw it with like really talented guys. And Iverson was an all-timer. And like, they'll put up with your shit because you're great. But the second you start losing it, if you start getting like nicked up with injuries and things like, he has, but if that thing starts going south a little bit, they're going to get you out of town and nobody's going to want you around. Once you can't really bring it like you did, because look, he's not a shooter. He's not really a playmaker. He's an explosive talent that could just get to the rim and just take 94 feet and attack. And if he can't do that, the second that starts to go south, it's just going to be, Jimmy Jackson style. It's going to be 14 teams and just this team and this team and this team and this team. He's not close to that right now, but that's where it's going to become. He's got to really he's got to tunnel vision it. He's got to get his circle done. He's got to get a few people that he's with, and he's got to go forward with that.
And he's about to turn 26, so the young thing's only going to, I don't know how long you can play that, but with all players like that, the maturity thing, as you grow, you learn, you got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, fuck this up. I need to improve on this. I don't need to be, doing all this stuff. I need to kind of lessen my circle. Hopefully that comes with age, but I'm not too optimistic right now. It just doesn't seem like he's learning from that, but I'd love to see him fully mentally there for his team, for the game, doing the right thing, and then seeing where this you can't really tell where this Memphis team can go because of that. So we'll watch that space. All right, Jaden McDaniels, pro, averaging 7 rebounds at 58% from the field, 43% from 3, all whilst guarding Luka Doncic, and has the highest plus minus in the whole series. Pro, useful or useless?
Useful. This guy's been an assassin in the series, man. He's really brought it. He's really, really good. So yeah, I definitely think that's useful.
Yeah, very useful. Hard to play 2 ends these days in the NBA and give energy at both ends, but the fact that he has to guard the best player on the other team, and he's been very elite at the offensive end, and that he's a 9.8 plus minus, which is good for more than 2.8. For the second best, which is Anthony Edwards in the whole series. He's been super impressive. So definitely useful. What do you got, pro?
Well, Bogues, I got useful or useless for you.
Oh, do you?
NBA players that scored 1,000 points that were born on December 7th and have the first name that starts with the letter L. Larry Bird and Lewis Amundsen. Is that useful or useless?
Yes. Where the hell did you get that?
I have no idea. So, I follow this account. What's the account called?
Dumb stats.
It's called Average Basketball Players on Instagram. It's great. It's got a picture of Popeye Jones as the avatar. Fucking great.
Useless as it comes, but yes, go ahead.
All right. So being the captain of the all-time frugal team like yourself, fact or fake news, you would pay $8,000 for a Cheeto that's shaped like Michael Jordan that sold yesterday for $8,000. Or are you buying Kobe Bryant's first jersey from the Los Angeles Lakers for $7 million that sold for?
Which one would I rather?
Fact or fake news? No, you'll buy the Cheeto because it's only $8,000 versus the $7 million for Kobe Bryant's jersey.
Yes.
For resale.
Fake news for resale long term. The better investment.
Yeah.
wouldn't the Cheeto eventually fuck up over? Wouldn't it just like?
No, because Cheetos will stay intact for like 88 years. It's got it's like uranium for God's sake.
Okay. Which would I rather? From an investment point of view, I think the jersey's a better investment, right?
So you're going to your wife and saying, "Honey,
no, I'm not.
$7 million."
I'm not. No, and I don't.
No. So you're gonna break and bat it. You're gonna get the bags of cash off the pallet and just drop it for the $7 million. No one knows about it.
That's a better investment. I wouldn't buy either of them. I'm not a memorabilia guy.
Yeah, me neither.
So yeah, it's not for me. But that Cheeto shit is wild. Like, do you think was that just an accident, right? Or they purposely made it that way?
Yeah, it's like, it's like somebody pisses in the snow and it's this, it's the shape of like the Easter Bunny or Jesus, and they're like all the Jesus freaks come, and it's like a historical landmark. I got another one, Bogues, for you. Okay. So it's of course a bullshit one, but it's something that I want your input on. You saw the Deion Sanders' son with the draft stuff getting like
briefly didn't get drafted, and now it's like not fair and all that kind of shit, right? Yeah.
Oh no, it's even better though. It's even better. So, that the college kids called him up and faked that they were GM of like the New Orleans Saints.
No, I didn't.
And said, yeah. And now, Bogues, for the draft for football, I don't know if it's like this in basketball, but like usually they get like another cell phone that no one knows the number to except only the NFL teams. Yeah. So now I'm like, how the fuck did this guy get the number? How did it get hacked? So these college kids called him, all right? Called him and said, oh, yeah, just, he goes, yeah, I waited. He goes, you just got to wait a little longer. We'll draft you with our next pick. And they didn't draft him. Come to find out, Bogues, the defensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons, that was his son. So
with his college buddies?
He had the numbers on an iPad that the kids saw. So the kids looked at the number and got the number and called him. Fact or fake news that a defensive coordinator is going to be fired within the next 12 months. Fact or fake news?
That's a tough one. That's his son, though. Like, what do you do? Like, yeah, he will be fired, bro. Fact, next 12 months, the next 12 hours. But that is hilarious. That shit is hilarious.
Folks, I didn't even know. I saw that today because obviously the story about him not getting drafted in the first few rounds, and that was a story. Then the prank was a story. But now finding out, because then I'm thinking, I'm like, how did this kid get this number? Because it's only like, it ain't like his number. It's just like I don't know if the NFL does it or the kid does it, where it's just this phone that the only people who have it are NFL organizations. But yeah,
I don't follow football. God, should he have been drafted? Is it a slight or is it just I don't follow?
Dude, they're talking about like he should have been like the 5th pick in the draft. Like,
he was projected to go top 10.
But they say his attitudes, they say is awful. Like they tried to control the whole thing. I mean, he was making like $4 million in NIL. I have no idea. I'm not a football guy.
I read some of his interviews were really bad. They said that he just came in really bad, super unprepared and shit. Just like.
Yeah, apparently he tried to manipulate the process. His dad was very much pushing for him to go to certain organizations. He's the only player ever to have his jersey retired at the college and not go in the first round in the NFL draft. But I think they tried to take a playbook out of Eli Manning's thing and tried to force a trade or something, and it backfired.
Folks, he played like 2 years, if that, at Colorado. And they retired his number. They have football players in the 90s that were unbelievable, won bowl games, this and that. They didn't even go to the bowl game. It's unbelievable. Oh, what else did I? Oh, yeah. During an interview, apparently, he was getting interviewed by a team. I don't know if it was live or in a Zoom. Somebody FaceTimed him.
He took it.
And he didn't he took the call and waited until he's off the phone and then went back to the interview. Bogues, it's unbelievable.
But if there's ever a red flag, that's one of them. If you're gonna put your team before all your other shit, that's a great. Without asking a question, you're just like, all right, this guy's not for us.
Unbelievable, man. It's because supposedly he's a decent talent, not great talent, but decent. But this thing could have been a lot more harmless.
For decent, you don't want to deal with all that shit though, especially with the dad and all that. It's
not at all.
So unlucky. All right, bro. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
Later, guys.
Catch you, man. I just finished on some NBL stuff. It's kind of the graveyard season for the NBL. Not a lot going on. Free agency kind of hit the last 2 or 3 weeks. It's kind of really calmed down. But we did, the Sydney Kings did sign Kendrick Davis. It was released right after last week's podcast. We didn't touch on it, but all the press has been out there. We got it done. Salary cap kings have come up again by all the usual naysayers, and then our numbers will be not first in the league again next season, and people will say it's rigged. But that goes with the MO. We're fine with it. We know microscope's going to be on KD. It's going to be on us. The questions around KD were, attitude and fitting in and all that, and we think that we are a good spot to help him with all that, get him better, and he's a unique talent. We're really excited about getting him with the club, and just we think that you don't find elite talents like that on a regular basis as far as an import. If Bryce leaving now, we see him as, if not 1, 2 best imports in the league, can get it done, and we're excited about it. So, like I said, the only person that did an article for the NBL last week, the only person that can change the perceptions of everything going on the court, off the court, is KD himself, and we had long chats about it, and I think there were some issues in Adelaide, obviously, that were reported. We think a different environment for him, and we can really invest in him being better on that facet of things, and just being a pro off the court. Because let's be honest, if he should be in the NBA talent wise. So there's some small things in his game that he's got to work on, and we're excited to help that. He knows that. All our reports that we did were with numerous people that knew him were that he works his ass off and loves the game. At times, much like myself, gets a bit hot under the collar. Maybe does something that crosses the line. You got to rebalance him a little bit. I'm all for that, and I've always been on record saying I'd rather a player like that than a player you have to motivate every day. He has motivation. He has a fire. We just got to try to help him harness that in a positive way as much as we can. So we're excited about that one. McQuatch Mulawak has also re-signed with the Kings. So that's a big signing. It really kind of came into his own last season as kind of fringe player. Didn't really know what his role was going to be, and he's coming to growing into a really good player for the Sydney Kings. So he's coming back. Okwera has re-signed with the Perth Wildcats. Lat Mayen has also signed with the Perth Wildcats on a multi-year deal, and the Perth Wildcats are rumoured to be front runners for JLA. Joe Lawala-Chul, former Melbourne United player, was playing overseas last season. That's their big target apparently in free agency. Other than that, there hasn't been a whole lot going on in free agency. The Cairns Taipans have been super quiet. Still no head coach, which is interesting. You probably want to get that done. And I think the reason why they're quiet in free agency is because players are like, we don't know who your head coach is. So they haven't really moved. Brisbane haven't done a whole lot neither. They've been very, very quiet with their free agency and a new coach acquisition. New Zealand have obviously gone the New Zealand route, which I think is the right decision. But other than that, it's been pretty quiet, and we'll probably find out more. If I was a betting man, I'd say there won't be a lot of movement in the next month or two. I think teams are now going to wait to Summer League and see what happens in Summer League for their import spots and whatnot. I think most of the Australian imports that have been targeted have been either snapped up or signed overseas. So we'll see where all that goes. And don't forget, next month in mid-May, the New Zealand series with the Boomers is kicking off in that 3-game series. Jump online to find tickets if they're near a town where you live. And that's about it. NBL-wise, Trent, not much going on.
Yeah, nothing to really add. Like you said, graveyard season. And yeah, now that I feel like the main targets, like your KDs and people that would have been eyed on early, have been all taken up and are on the book somewhere. It's going to be now a 2-3 month wait until the Summer League happens to get an eye on some of the Aussies that might potentially fall out of NBA teams, as well as any other potential import spots. So
college as well.
College basketball, exactly.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of weeks.
Yep, and just, otherwise following NBL 1, the Queensland NBL 1 North kicks off next week. East in Sydney and South in, I think, down in Victoria. I think Adelaide, what's that, Central? Is that?
Yeah, Central. NBL 1 Central.
And then West are all firing and going. Yep. Elijah Pepper, by the way, cooking out in Western Australia.
Unprecedented numbers.
A couple of 50 balls, like just absolutely cooking. So he's yeah, I mean, Perth's got a good one in him. I think you'll find a much bigger role than he found last season with Bryce Cotton out of that lineup. But otherwise, that's your only really local Australian basketball fix you'll get till the NBL season starts. And see you all next week for some more playoff talk.